Hello everyone, what are your opinions on Sonic Origins? I'll tell you guys my opinion right away. Besides some bugs and some odd choices made for this collection, Sonic Origins is good, but it should have been great. It gets a 7.5 out of 10 for me at least, but it could have been so much more. Originally, I was planning on making a review of this collection, but I decided against it because I have a suspicion that Sega is currently planning an updated Sonic Origins for the summer of next year. I think this would be a good video to discuss my ideals for a quote-unquote Sonic Origins Plus. Without further ado, let's begin. This is what baffles me about Sega. So, they decided to release Mania and Origins digitally only for a long while. Now, I don't mind buying games digitally, but I believe just having these games be digital only hurts sales. Following the pattern of Sonic Mania, this game should get a physical copy since it's highly demanded. For the box art, the original icon of Sonic Origins should be the standard, but like Mania Plus, I would love a reversible cover. The reversible cover should be reminiscent of Greg Martin's Sonic art style, mirroring the original box art of Origins with a Sega Saturn case. Despite liking this collection and having fun with it, this is not worth $45 plus tax. Sonic Origins Plus should go for a cheaper price since it's just an updated collection of games that have been released a good amount of times at this point, and you can get Mania, a relatively new game, for half the price. The original version of this collection is asking too much with this price, so we need to fix that. This collection definitely needs more games, and I chose 4 games, which all of them were already represented in the original version already. Sonic Spinball, Knuckles Chaotix, Sonic 3D Blast, and one more game I'll talk about later. Now, these games were referenced as music tracks if you paid $5 extra. That's corporate as hell, especially when most of these songs were mislabeled at first. These games don't really need to go all out for their anniversary modes, besides enhanced graphics and widescreen support. Maybe they can animate new opening and ending cutscenes for all these games. Sonic 3D Blast is actually the PC version that was released in 1999. I don't think they can emulate the Saturn version since I heard that Saturn games are very hard to port over, which is why Sonic Art on Gems collection is a PC version instead of the original Saturn version. I personally don't care since it would still mean that we would get what is essentially superior to the Genesis version. The 4th major game added to the collection is a big one, but I believe Sonic Mania Plus will be a fantastic addition to the collection. Mania just turned 5 at the time of this video, and it deserves to get re-released just like the classics. Before someone says it's too early to re-release Mania, the classics were already being re-released in the late 90s. 4 times already. We're gonna start somewhere. Another reason why I think Mania should be included is because the Mania adventures were included in the original collection's museum. Finally, Mania is an amalgamation of the games that were included in the original collection. It's a tribute to the classics, an amazing one at that. The added 4 games that I talk about are the major games that are available from the start, but there are another additional 6 games added to the collection, albeit they're unlockable bonus games. These games are the Master System versions of Sonic 1, 2, Chaos, Triple Trouble, Sega Sonic, and last but not least, Flicky. These games can be unlocked by beating their Genesis counterparts, like Sonic 3 does Triple Trouble for example, or doing a set amount of missions. That's pretty much it for the new games, which with this proposed updated collection, it triples the amount of games included in the original Origins. Since we all know there's going to be debate about the Genesis and Saturn soundtracks of Sonic 3D Blast, you can toggle the soundtracks to your liking. The same can be done with Sonic Chaos with his Master System and Game Gear soundtracks. On Story Mode's menu, there should be a toggle for Japanese and the US soundtracks of Sonic CD. It was weird that you had to manually go into Sonic CD to do that, breaking the flow of the player's one time on Story Mode. The prototype music should be toggled on with the Origins music for Sonic 3. Don't really have to explain that one. In the original collection, we had Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles for 3 of the 4 games. So this is what baffles me. Why wasn't Knuckles playable in Sonic CD? That game is based around exploration. He would have been perfect for the game, so he needs to be added to that game. With Mania's inclusion, Mighty and Ray will be also playable for these games as well. Now, for the other missed opportunities, we need to add Amy and Metal Sonic as new playable characters for the game. I thought they would implement Amy into these games since she was heavily featured in the marketing of this collection. So, I would love to see her playable. Also, making her playable will leave a groundwork for her playstyle in future 2D games, like Mania 2 for example. Toggle sprites for all characters. I love all the sprite work from the games. Playing the best Sonic sprite, which is Sonic 3, in all the games will be great. You don't like that fact? Well, usually Knuckles said it best in Spring Yard Zone. Cope with it. Now, on Twitter, it was discovered that Sonic Origins was going to have a rewind feature for the games. I think for newcomers to the Sonic series, it's a good feature that should be re-implemented in the anniversary mode of these games. It would be nice to have the option. It's going to be so helpful with Sonic Spinball. My gosh, that game is difficult. I love the remix of Sonic Wolf and Sonic Jam, but it gets tiring after listening to it constantly after leaving games. It will be demoted to the main menu music when you're trying to select one of the islands. However, when it comes to mission mode, there should be a new song composed for it, and it should have a heroic tone to it, or maybe a remix of Sonic 2's option music. For the museum, the music should be very calming and relaxing. They can compose a remix of extras from Sonic Mega Collection. Personally, I believe the best part of Origins were the missions, and I think we should have at least 10 new missions for each game. For content in the museum, there should be more concept art pieces of the zones from the games. Well, I feel that was missing from the collection were old commercials of the games, so I believe those should be included. Screen filters like playing the games in CRTV would be great. One really cool thing that I think that would be very beneficial for the game and newcomers is having the Sonic Origins Speed Strat series available for people to watch. Story mode should have new exclusive animated cutscenes to differentiate itself from playing the game regularly in anniversary mode. Also, since Mania is in the collection, we'll add that game as the final game in story mode. Here's the new cutscenes I'll add. In Sonic 1, there will be a cutscene where Eggman is in the early phases of making Metal Sonic in his base at Scrapbrain, but he angrily stops building once he sees the live feed of Sonic entering the area before he rushes out to try to confront Sonic. After the Sonic 1 animated ending with the Chaos Emeralds, a new cutscene will fast forward a few weeks later where Sonic gets word from the Flickies that Little Planet is coming back, which inspired him to check the place out via the tornado. Then we get the animated cutscene with Amy before we get a brand new cutscene. This cutscene will show Eggman finishing up on Metal Sonic and then hitting a small base inside the mountain with his face on it near Never Lake, and activating Metal Sonic with his eyes glowing reminiscent of Sonic OVA. Eggman then gives out an evil grin when he sees Little Planet approaching and blasts out a huge chain to the planetoid. Then we transition to the original Sonic CD intro. After starting Speedway, Sonic tells Amy, through body movements, to stay put as he looks out to see Metallic Madness and starts rushing towards the zone with an inspiring instrumental mashup of You Can Do Anything and Sonic Boom playing in the background. After the new CD animated outro with Sonic flying his tornado, we see Eggman flying in his mobile from the back ending of Sonic CD approaching Westside Island, and the mini computer screen on the mobile detects the 7 Chaos Emeralds are on the island. Then he puts some code into the computer and reveals his schematics on the death egg. A few days later, Sonic approaches Westside Island on his tornado. He was almost shot down by some buzz bombers, which forces him to crash onto the island before he starts his adventure in Emerald Hill. Then we get the Sonic 2 opening where Sonic meets Tails. It's so freaking awesome, man. I love this cutscene. After beating Metropolis Zone, a cutscene will play with Eggman escaping onto his Green Fortress before Sonic and Tails look beyond the flying airship and see the death egg in the sky. They head back to the tornado in Emerald Hill and Tails offers to fly the plane, which Sonic happily obliges. The two take off from the plane to catch up to the Green Fortress. After the Sonic 2 anime outro, Sonic and Tails fly back to Westside Island as they believe the death egg completely self-destructed and not crashed onto Angel Island. After the Sonic 3 anime intro with Eggman and Knuckles, it's been several days since the events of Sonic 2 where Sonic and Tails learn about the whereabouts of Angel Island through their Chaos Radar since it's now been grounded in water. Sonic and Tails take off towards the island with the Chaos Emeralds in hand. One small cutscene will play between Lava Reef and Hidden Palace, where Knuckles angry spies on Sonic and Tails before running to the Emerald Altar to protect it. We then fast forward to many months later, where Angel Island is disrupted by some purple energy as it falls back to the ocean. Later, Eggman on his rebuilt flying battery approaches the island where he's tagged along with 5 egg robos, with one of them looking ominous. Sonic, Tails, Mighty, and Ray were approaching the island on the tornado at high speeds, but they were all too late as a mysterious gem was plucked out of the ground by the egg robos. The Fantaruby starts to warp everyone to Green Hill before the egg robos run into Knuckles, knocking him out. The cutscene ends with the egg robos beginning to transform into the hard-boiled heavies once the rift effect of the ruby caught up to them. Before Titanic Monarch, Sonic and Tails rush towards the gigantic base once they are accompanied by Knuckles, Mighty, and Ray for the final fight. Meanwhile, Eggman angrily looks at the heroes approaching his base and orders the heavies to prepare for the final battle before he gets suspicious of the Heavy King, who is staring at the Fantaruby menacingly. After the original Mania of the True Ending cutscene, the last cutscene takes place on Angel Island with Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Mighty, and Ray concerned about Sonic's whereabouts until he emerges from a portal with a destroyed Fantaruby in his hand. As all the heroes celebrate his return, a Flicky takes a picture of all 6 of them as an homage to the Sonic Advance 3's ending. Story Mode Plus ends with that photo having the tagline, "You're too cool," as an homage to Sonic CD. That's it for all my ideas for new exclusive cutscenes for Story Mode. I feel like since Story Mode's purpose was to show that all 4, now 5, games connect to each other like a shonen manga as it is intended, there should be more cutscenes to help drive in that fact. In the original Story Mode, there weren't enough cutscenes where it really connects the stories all together. They feel isolated in my opinion. For example, Sonic 1's outro had the emeralds go to West Side Island before Sonic runs off. Not a problem if you were to play Sonic 1 individually and go straight to Sonic 2, but in Story Mode, it cuts to Sonic CD, making Story Mode lack some sort of conveyance. This is why I believe a cutscene where Sonic gets worried about Little Planet from the Flickies will make the transition from Sonic 1 to CD much more natural instead of abrupt, and the reason why he didn't go to Red Side Island is because Little Planet doesn't stay on Earth that long before it goes back into space, versus West Side Island being a destination that will always be there for him to explore later. I also feel like the death effect wasn't built up properly between CD and 2, due to no cutscene or implications of Eggman having the idea to build it. I know it sounds really nitpicky, and I'm ungrateful because I just want more cutscenes, but I can't help it, you know. That was my video on improving Sonic Origins, or Sonic Origins Plus Wishlist. I honestly don't know what I'm going to name this video. Don't get me wrong, Sonic Origins is a good collection, but it's also sadly underwhelming, which makes it hard for me to recommend it, especially at its current price. I honestly believe Sega will update Origins to be better within a year, but we will have to see. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Okay, Origins confirms that CD takes place between 1 and 2. And like any sane person, you would be confused about Metal Sonic's placement and the robotic Sonic doppelganger chronological lineup. Well, Metal Sonic was weaker than both Silver and Mecha Sonics because he got destroyed by running into a wall. You run into a wall at light speed, see, you survived that.